What if the bloodline's biggest problem right now is in Solo Sikoa, Jacob Fatu, or even Roman Reigns himself? What if the real problem is the empty chair beside the tribal chief, the chair once occupied by the man who could turn chaos into a strategy? Roman has captains, but captains are soldiers. He needs someone who can think 3 moves ahead. And now 3 names immediately jump into the conversation: Paul Heyman, The Rock, and Rikishi. One could turn the bloodline into a chess game. Another could turn it into a political powerhouse. And the third could bring the family back together. But which one makes the most sense? And could WWE be quietly building toward a shocking return? Welcome back to the Ringside Observer. I'm Kai. In this video, we're breaking down exactly why the bloodline may desperately need a new wise man. Why Paul Heyman could be the most dangerous option. Why The Rock could completely change the power structure. Why Rikishi might be the emotional answer Roman doesn't realize he needs. And what all of this could mean heading toward Survivor Series. Grab some popcorn and get comfortable because we've got a lot of dots to connect before this one's done. Let's get into it. There is something very different about the bloodline right now. For years, Roman Reigns didn't simply rely on his physical dominance. He had someone beside him who understood the politics of WWE, understood manipulation, understood timing, and most importantly, understood Roman. That man was Paul Heyman. Heyman wasn't just a manager. He was the strategist behind the tribal chief's empire. But that relationship is gone. And without Heyman, Roman has increasingly had to rely on the people around him to execute his orders rather than someone helping him design the plan. That's where the Usos come in. Roman has elevated Jimmy and Jay into important positions. But there is a massive difference between being a captain and being a wise man. A captain leads soldiers. A wise man builds the battlefield. And right now, Roman may have soldiers without a strategist. That's why Paul Heyman immediately becomes the most obvious candidate. But there's one enormous problem. Can Roman Reigns ever trust Paul Heyman again? Heyman has already betrayed Roman. Their history is complicated. And Heyman has proven that when his survival is on the line, loyalty can become negotiable. And that's exactly what makes him so dangerous. If Heyman ever returned to Roman's side, it wouldn't simply be a reunion. It would be a massive power shift. Heyman knows Roman's strengths. He knows his weaknesses. He knows the entire bloodline structure better than almost anyone. But there's another name that could completely change the equation. The Rock. The final boss doesn't need to stand beside Roman every week holding a microphone. He operates on an entirely different level. The Rock has influence, power, history, and a connection to the Anoa'i family that nobody else can replicate. If he returned as the bloodline's guiding force, this wouldn't just be about wrestling. It would become a battle over the future of the entire family dynasty. Roman might be the tribal chief, but The Rock is someone who can challenge the authority of almost anyone simply by walking into the room. And that's why I don't think The Rock would necessarily be the traditional wise man. He could be something much bigger, the ultimate power broker. Then we have the most emotional option of them all, Rikishi. Rikishi is the father of Jimmy Uso, Jay Uso, and Solo Sikoa, and that makes his potential involvement completely different from Heyman or The Rock. Heyman understands strategy. The Rock understands power. But Rikishi understands the family. Look at the situation Roman is facing. Solo has rebelled. Jacob Fatu's loyalty is uncertain. The Usos have been elevated. And the entire bloodline structure is under enormous pressure. Who better to walk into that chaos and tell these men to stop fighting each other? Rikishi could potentially become the voice of the family, rather than simply another authority figure. And that brings us to the biggest question. Does Roman actually need another wise man? Or does he need someone capable of controlling the family before it completely destroys itself? Because those are 2 very different jobs. If WWE wants Roman's story to become a chess match again, Paul Heyman makes the most sense. If WWE wants to turn the bloodline into an enormous power struggle, The Rock is the nuclear option. But if WWE wants to bring the story back to its original emotional foundation, family, loyalty, betrayal, and legacy, Rikishi could be the most interesting choice. And there is another wildcard we can't ignore. Haku and the MFTs are becoming increasingly important to this entire bloodline conflict, while Zilla Fatu is making his own impact in NXT. That means the family tree is getting bigger, while the bloodline itself is becoming more fractured. Eventually, Roman is going to have to decide who he trusts. and whoever sits beside him could determine whether the bloodline survives or completely collapses. Imagine Roman standing in the ring demanding acknowledgement. The Usos are beside him. The arena goes dark. A familiar voice begins speaking. The crowd erupts. Is it Paul Heyman? Or perhaps The Rock's music hits? Or could WWE shock everyone with Rikishi walking onto the stage? That's why this storyline is so fascinating. We don't know which direction WWE will take, and that's exactly where the speculation becomes interesting. But here's my question for you. Who should become the Bloodline's next wise man? Would you trust Paul Heyman again? Would The Rock be too powerful to serve as a traditional wise man? Or is Rikishi the one person who could actually bring this broken family back together? And here's the bigger question. If Roman chooses the wrong man, could the bloodline finally collapse for good? Drop your prediction in the comments. This is the Ringside Observer. I'm Kai, and I'll see you in the next one.